You're listening to our rolling coverage from the precincts of the City Hall, where the State of the Nation address will take place later this evening. We're joined at our studios by Minister Dean McPherson, who is a South African politician, currently serving as Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure since June 2024. Minister, good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon and salam alaikum to you and your listeners.
Assalamu ala man ittaba al-huda. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Minister, there's a big fiasco with regards to the statements of the President of the United States of America that certain race groups are being treated badly and that land is being confiscated in South Africa. The bill that is under the contention was signed in while you were in your position, so endorsed by yourself.
Well, it's not endorsed by myself because I had said that I believe that there are constitutional concerns with that. It's obviously a bill that came out of the 6th Parliament. It didn't come out of the 7th Parliament. And we have also said that I think that there's some work to be done there. But, you know, at the end of the day, what we're seeing is unhelpful, it's unnecessary. I think that we need to de-escalate tensions. I think that we need to try and tone down the rhetoric because there's far more to lose than being isolated from the United States than there is to gain. They're our second largest trading partner. We have 1 million jobs that are created through the AGOA Act, which is hugely important for South African businesses. And if we were to lose that, life would get even harder for many more South Africans. So I think we need to commit to making sure that we clear up issues between South Africa and the United States. We need to make sure that we iron out what those issues are and that we get back on track to growing our economy and creating jobs. That's my single focus. That's what I'm committed to do. That's why we say we want to use public assets for public good. We want to turn South Africa into a construction site because we want to get on with growing our economy and creating jobs. And that's literally my daily obsession. It's what I think about. It's what all of our plans relate to. And it's what we're continuously working towards.
So, in your assessment, you know, what is really behind the tweets that Donald Trump have sent out?
I think it's difficult to say, but I think that what South Africa needs to be better at is diplomacy. And I think for a long time we haven't had a functioning mission in Washington. That hasn't helped us. I think that obviously the government recently took steps to try and to rectify that, but we've got to get better at engaging our partners. You know, global trade is all about partnerships, and I think that that's something that we're not necessarily the best at. We've got to get on towards that, and I think we've got to get out to Washington as soon as possible and to try and ensure that everyone is on the same page, that in South Africa we want growth, we want jobs, we want to partner with everyone who can assist us in doing so, and that includes the United States as well. We want to make sure that we are able to renegotiate, re-enter into AGOA. It's critical for the future of our manufacturing sector, particularly in autos, particularly in the agriculture sector. And so we've got to do all that we can to make sure that we not just reset partnerships, but we're actually able to build them for the future.
You use the word, construction site, turning the country into construction site, and that is what the President used in his previous speech. What has been the key developments in your ministry, the Ministry of Public Works and Infrastructure, over the last 6 months?
Well, firstly, what we've wanted to do is position Infrastructure South Africa as a central point for infrastructure coordination, because we know that it has been really disorganized. There's some areas of excellence, some not. And so what we've done is we've created what we call the 8 paths to sustainable infrastructure, which focuses around putting them at the center of the infrastructure plan for South Africa. What we also are doing is focusing on infrastructure in local government, because that is where people feel it the most. So we've launched a pilot project in 4 municipalities across the country that's actually going to work with Infrastructure South Africa and local government to drive infrastructure projects that will be delivered on time and on budget. Also, we have been wanting to bring confidence to the construction industry, that when government issues tenders, that they are actually awarded on time and that budgets flow into those projects. And if you look at the green shoots that we're seeing in the construction industry, I think the results really speak for themselves. 180,000 jobs created in the last quarter, 1.1% growth in the construction sector. And this is a sector that's been on decline for the last 10 years. And then lastly, our focus is around using public assets for public good. So we have all of these government properties, we have all this government land. How do we make that an economic driver for growth and jobs? And we've released the first 27 properties across the country for public comment. We're going to be making some really big announcements in the near future around more projects. And just in this round, we're hoping to leverage 10 billion rand worth of private sector investment into government properties. So it's really exciting what we're doing, and I'm convinced that we're on the right track. We've just started, and I think that in 5 years' time or 4.5 years' time, at the end of 2029, the one thing that people will look back at and say that absolutely what we did right was to use government assets for government good, and that we were able to create a lot of jobs in the construction industry because of the infrastructure boom that we are embarking on at the moment.
You spoke about the challenge with regards to diplomacy and that. What are some of the challenges that your particular ministry faces in terms of executing the visions that you have?
Well, I think ensuring policy certainty, that's the one thing that investors are very determined to see. I spoke at the mining in Durban this week, and they wanted policy certainty now around expropriation. I think having these sorts of conversations when we are trying to go on an investment drive is not where we want to be. We want to be talking around closing deals. We want to be talking about getting new businesses into the country. We want to talk about creating new businesses, new jobs in the country. So I'm really hard at work with my colleagues in different ministries, which I'm really grateful for. I have great working relationships with many of them, and we're working hard to make sure that we give that certainty to our investors, that South Africa is a place to do business, that South Africa is a place to invest in, and that we as the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, myself as the Minister, I am your partner to get those things done.
Tonight in the State of the Nation address, what will you be listening out for?
Well, obviously I'm keenly focused on infrastructure projects, infrastructure funding. That's really important. Government must be able to make contributions towards infrastructure projects so that we can de-risk them and make them more appealing to investors. So I'm looking forward to the President hopefully speaking about that. Also particularly around our land use program. I think that would be really exciting to hear him talk about that, and also around the direction that the GNU is focused on, which is around growth and jobs. That is the one thing that we're going to be measured on. If unemployment goes up, we will have failed. If it goes down, we will have succeeded. And I think that that's what we really need to anchor ourselves to, is relentlessly pursuing job-friendly, investor-friendly, growth-friendly job policies that are able to create jobs for the millions of South Africans that desperately need them.
So Dean, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate the insight you've shared with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Go well. Bye-bye.
Thank you.